It's 6 p.m. in Dakar. Good evening and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and worldwide on wadr.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. Senegalese express hope for a peaceful and unified society as the country celebrates its 65th independence anniversary.
I saw people who represented former members of the resistance marching in the parade, so I was very touched. I came with my daughter so that she can understand what's at stake in being a true patriot, someone who loves her country.
The Maiden Russia AES Forum concludes in Moscow with 4 action points prioritizing security and diplomacy. The Nigerian military unveils the first and largest indigenous attack drones.
The Armed Forces of Nigeria welcomes this development as it enhances our ability to acquire the much-needed assets without delays associated with international procurement system. For us, we're going to key into this fully to ensure that all our theater of operations have adequate number of drones that will enable us to dominate the entire airspace.
And United Nations raises alarm as attacks and killing of aid workers worldwide reach a new high. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Abdullahi Hassan with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast and welcome to our listeners in Gambia, Ghana, Liberia and Sierra Leone. Today, Friday, April 4, 2025, Senegal celebrates 65 years of independence. Earlier in the day, a civilian and military parade was held at the Place de la Nation in Dakar, the nation's capital. A large number of Senegalese attended this first civilian and military parade, presided over by the Senegalese head of state, Bassirou Diomaye Faye. He was joined by other West African heads of state, including Adama Barrow of the Gambia, Omar Sissoko Embalo of Guinea-Bissau, and Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima. Sankule Janko was there and filed this report.
It was with this applause that the Senegalese population came out in force to attend the civil and military parade, paying tribute to the troops on parade. In audience, Mohamed C. in his 50s, who for several years now has not missed this event.
It's a pleasure to be here. I've been here since I was a kid. I'm going to carry on the tradition, come and watch our school children and our police march past our head of state.
For this lady in her 40s who wished to remain anonymous, coming to the parade is a way for her to pay tribute to the heroes of Senegal's independence.
I saw people who represented former members of the resistance marching in the parade, so I was very touched. The parade reminded me of the Senegalese resistance fighters who fought for our country's independence. I came with my daughter so that she can understand what's at stake in being a true patriot, someone who loves her country.
For Monanjai, standing in the audience, it was important for her to come and support Senegalese President Diomaye Faye for his Independence Day parade.
It's been 65 years since independence, and I think that with the president, it is first April 4th. So we had to be there too, to commemorate, to let him know that we are behind him, to support him a little, and above all, to be a part of the atmosphere. It's a pleasure.
Bassirou Diomaye Faye presided over the civilian and military parade on his first day at the helm of Senegal, with his Gambian counterparts Adama Barrow, Mauritanian Mohamed El Ghazouani, and Bissau Guinean Umaru Sissoko Embalo at his side.
A report by Sankule Janko. Meanwhile, the first edition of the Russia AES Forum wrapped up today in Moscow following 2 days of extensive talks. The delegation from the Confederation of Sahel States was led by Mali's Foreign Affairs Minister Abdoulaye Maiga. Others are Jean-Marie Karamoko Traoré of Burkina Faso and Bakary Sangare of Niger. The discussion focused on several sectors of interest between two parties, such as defense and security, energy, trade and commerce. On the sidelines, the formation of a new joint armed forces to effectively fight terrorism in the region was announced. Maiga, Mali's Minister of Foreign Affairs, addressing a press conference in Moscow, said the meeting concluded with 4 action points.
Je voudrais pouvoir décliner les conclusions de nos travaux en 4 points essentiels.
I would like to sum up the conclusions of our work in 4 key points. The first point is that Russia is an ally of the Confederation of Sahel States, with which it shares a common vision in a number of areas. So this is our first political consultation with a partner outside the Confederation of Sahel States, which means that we share many of the common values that you have already outlined, and also that more than a partner, Russia is today a sincere ally, but a constant ally who has always stood by our countries since their respective independence. The third major conclusion of our discussions was, as I said, that Russia reiterated its willingness to stand by our side as sincere, constant partners and to maintain an objective reading of the situation in our countries, and also to continue to support our countries on the international stage. Our countries are keen to see the Confederation of Sahel States build bridges with the BRICS for two main reasons. Russia is a member of the BRICS, and the BRICS are helping to move towards a multipolar world that respects the sovereignty of individual states. We think this is important.
Qui respecte la souveraineté des États. Nous pensons que c'est quelque chose qui est important.
Mali's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Abdullahi Maiga, speaking there. The Nigerian military, in collaboration with the Bridge UAS, a communications company, has unveiled the first and largest indigenous attack drones and bombs in Nigeria and Africa. Bridge UAS, in partnership with the Nigerian Army, demonstrated and unveiled these attack drones and bombs at the company's headquarters in Abuja. The Chief of Defense Staff, Christopher Musa, described the initiative as a major milestone in the country's journey toward self-reliance in defense technology and a significant step in strengthening national security capabilities. General Musa emphasized that the development of combat drones was a timely intervention, highlighting their efficiency in intelligence gathering.
In a world where the global politics surrounding the procurement of advanced military hardware, particularly combat drones, have become more intricate, countries that do not produce such solutions are made to face bureaucratic bottlenecks and diplomatic hurdles in acquiring these critical platforms. We are facing such challenges directly, so we know what it means. If you don't produce what you need, you'll be held whenever you need them, even with your money at hand. The Armed Forces of Nigeria welcomes this development as it enhances our ability to acquire the much-needed assets without delays associated with international procurement system. For us, we're going to key into this fully to ensure that all our theater of operations have adequate number of drones that will enable us to dominate the entire airspace.
General Christopher Musa is Nigeria's Chief of Defense Staff.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
As a reminder, we're live on Facebook and YouTube. Let's take you to Ghana, where security analyst and executive director of the West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism has described President John Mahama's recent call for the people of Baku to embrace peace as a crucial step forward achieving lasting stability in the area. According to Motaru Momoni Mukhtar, the active engagement of key traditional authorities and involvement of security agencies represent a comprehensive approach to restoring calm and preventing further violence. However, the Ghanaian president, tension has been high in the Upper East region in recent times over communal conflict. For more on this, here is WADR's Nadir Tete.
On this holy occasion, where we celebrate the feast of Eid al-Fitr after the holy month of Ramadan, my brothers and sisters in Baku, let us give peace a chance.
That was President John Dramani Mahama on March 31, 2025, appealing to the people of Baku to give peace a chance. He made the passionate call during the Eid al-Fitr prayers organized by the National Chief Imam at Accra's Black Star Square. The president underscored the essence of Ramadan as a period of unity, reconciliation, and forgiveness, values he believes are crucial to resolving the long-standing conflict in Baku. It's not the first time he's made such a call. During the Independence Day celebration earlier this year, President Mahama reiterated the same appeal, urging residents to lay down arms and embrace dialogue. The Baku conflict, which stemmed from a protracted chieftaincy dispute between the Kusasi and the Mamprusi ethnic groups, has plagued the area for decades. The violence has claimed several lives and displaced many residents in the Upper East region. Notably, Baku was the first place the president visited after assuming office, where he reiterated his promise to bring peace to the area. Reacting to the renewed call for calm, security analyst and executive director of the West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism, Mutar Mumuni Mokhtar, described it as a critical step towards achieving long-term stability.
In nearly all situations of conflicts and violence, in terms of bringing about peace, you first begin with communication. You begin with engaging with the people because a significant part of what is going on is influenced by the hearts and minds of the people. And so you need to begin to appeal to the people with a very, very deliberate kind of communications approach that allows the factions involved to listen and to lay down their weapons and to begin the actual engagement that can lead to resolution of the conflict.
He emphasized that the president's appeal, coupled with deliberate efforts to involve traditional authorities and enhance the presence of security agencies, points to a more comprehensive and coordinated approach to peace building in the area.
And that is why we saw, after the visit to Boko, the president also engaged the Asantehene, including subsequent engagement by the military and the Minister for Defense, Interior, and other security agencies to ensure that the Asantehene once again intervenes in terms of heading a committee that can oversee the peace process in Boko.
With renewed calls and coordinated efforts, there is cautious optimism that Boko can finally move towards lasting peace. For WADR, Nadidi Tete, Accra.
And in neighboring Côte d'Ivoire, the opposition PPACI party has declared its intention to request the dissolution of the Electoral Commission just a month away from the October 2025 presidential election. Katinan Kone, president of the Strategic and Political Council of the African People's Party Côte d'Ivoire, claims that such action will preserve social peace. Kone spoke during the party's forum on the theme Disputes and Irregularities on the Provisional Electoral Law. Augustine Kone tells us more.
The forum by Laurent Gbagbo's party comes days before the end of the electoral dispute, which opened on March 22, 2025, a phase Kone alleged is predisposed. He cited two main obstacles. First, the restriction of the number of offices in which disputes must be registered, and the second concerns the proto-leaguer. Kone Katina questioned the reliability of the electoral lists, relying on the analysis of the PPACR's anti-electoral fraud watchdog, which he said identified more than 6 million people who do not meet the conditions to appear on the electoral list. The party executive also alleged that there are 2,000 people over the age of 160 on the electoral roll. According to him, the registration is botched, the litigation is biased, and the Electoral Commission refuses to revise the electoral roll under the law. The African People's Party, Côte d'Ivoire, considers the Electoral Commission's position illegal because Laurent Gbagbo is not on the electoral roll. Recall, the former Nigerian president Gbagbo was, despite an amnesty, removed from the electoral roll following his conviction in the Bissau robbery case. The Ivorian Electoral Commission has yet to respond to PPACR's claims of irregularities, but party militants will mobilize for demonstrations in Dabu on April 11 and 12, 2025 to demand change, Kone concluded.
Augustine Cole reporting. You are listening to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and online at wadr.org. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Senegalese express hope for a peaceful and unified society as the country celebrates its 65th independence anniversary. The maiden Russia AES forum concludes in Moscow with 4 action points prioritizing security and diplomacy. The Nigerian military unveils the first and largest indigenous attack drones. Still ahead in the news, the United Nations raises alarm as attacks and killings of aid workers worldwide reach a new high. We also have the guest interview and sports news. Please stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Remember, we stream live on wadr.org. Violence against humanitarian workers hits record high, said Joyce Suya, Assistant Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs and Deputy Emergency Relief Coordinator on the protection of civilians in armed conflict. Addressing the Security Council, The Assistant Secretary General of the UN reported that aid workers are being killed in unprecedented numbers. More than 300 were killed in 2024. The report also revealed that humanitarians all face the criminalization of their work, with many detained, interrogated, and accused of supporting terrorism for delivering aid to people in need.
Attacks on aid workers must end. Perpetrators must be held to account. According to available data, 2024 was the worst year on record, with 377 aid workers killed across 20 countries. This was almost 100 more fatalities than in 2023, which already saw a 137% increase from 2022. Many more were injured, kidnapped, attacked, and arbitrarily detained. The last 2 years have been particularly brutal. In Sudan, at least 85 humanitarian workers, all Sudanese nationals, have been killed since the current conflict began in April 2023. And just 3 days ago, on 30 March in Rafah, teams from OCHA and the Palestinian Red Crescent Society recovered from a mass grave the bodies of 15 emergency and aid workers from the Palestinian Red Crescent Society, Civil Defense, and the United Nations, killed while trying to save lives. Let us be clear. There is no shortage of robust international legal frameworks to protect humanitarian and UN workers. Human rights law and standards, conventions relating to the UN's activities and personnel, and international humanitarian law together provide clear obligations to safeguard humanitarian personnel, assets, and operations.
That was Joyce Suya, the United Nations Assistant Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs and Deputy Emergency Relief Coordinator on the protection of civilians in armed conflict.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Our guest interview tonight focuses on the 65th Independence Day celebration of Senegal under the theme Towards Technological and Industrial Sovereignty of the Armed Forces. A political analyst and historian, Professor Gorgui Dieng, speaks about the political stability of the country as it has not witnessed any coup in history. However, he called for stronger institutions and the implementation of reforms that could lead to the economic transformation of citizens.
Unlike many African countries, Senegal has never witnessed any coup d'etat. We have had since then, despite some turmoils, for example, the dispute between the Prime Minister Mamadou Dia and the President Léopold Sédar Senghor in 1962, and other events. But apart from those problems, Senegal has not really had any big problem regarding governance. We have been having civilian government since then. Senegal has been somewhat a stable country despite some problems such as those witnessed from 2021 to 2024.
65 years of independence, what have we gained so far?
Well, I believe that Senegal has become a country, a state, a stable country with an administration which is one of the most reliable ones, even though we have got to improve it. The problem is we cannot have a country, even though it is stable, we put forward the interests of political parties. I believe that the state must be given more respect. If I consider, for example, this amnesty law, which is being questioned, which has been even cancelled and reinterpreted, this is, I believe, based not on the interests of the society as a whole, of the state as a whole, but on the interests of a group of people. And this is one of the weaknesses of the republic. We have got to recenter everything on the state. I believe that the state is not really given the place it should be given in our society. People give more importance to individuals, and this has been testified by the fact that the revision of the law, the interpretation of the law, lays the emphasis more on individuals rather than on the state. They believe that some people have been killed. Those who have killed them have got to be punished. How about now those who have tried to kill the state? Nothing has been said about that. And I believe that this is one of the weaknesses. And the democracy also must be revisited. I believe that as long as we have this kind of democracy, which gives the whole power to one political party or to a group of people, there wouldn't be any peace in Senegal and in Africa. We have got to restructure our democracy and indigenize it. That is one. Second, economically speaking, I don't believe that Senegal has developed that much because in 1960, when Senegal achieved independence, it was at the same level as South Korea. Now, South Korea is supplying Senegal with vehicles, and Senegal is not able to produce those things. So I don't believe that economically, Senegal has improved its situation.
Senegal now has a new administration. In this new administration, he has actually rolled out some policies. We have the Senegal Development Plan 2050, and then among other new policies implemented. Want to find out that what do you think about the new administration? Do you think that the policies turned out in the right direction to turning the fortunes and the stories of Senegal?
Well, it is, I think, an exaggeration to say that there is a new administration in Senegal. What we have in Senegal is different, for example, from what we have in the U.S., when we can talk about the Trump administration, the Biden administration. Here, I don't believe that we can talk about the Faye administration or the Sall administration because the same civil servants are still there. Mainly, those managing, administering the ministries, they are still there on the whole. It is only some high-ranking executives who have been appointed to new positions. But on the whole, the administration remains the same.
Political analyst and historian Professor Gorgujan. Well, in the world of sports, a lot has been happening, especially with the ongoing CAF tournament, and congratulations to the baby Scorpions of the Gambia. At least it's a big win, and there's some points up in the game, right, Sankule?
Yes, Abdullahi, absolutely, because the Gambia on the 17th reignited their CAF on the 17th Africa Cup of Nations campaign with a commanding 5-1 victory over Somalia in their second Group C match early today, Friday. The baby Scorpions bounced back from their narrow 1-0 defeat to neighbor Senegal to put their campaign on track. The Gambia's captain, Aliou Dramé, who plays for Barcelona's La Masia Academy, was the star of the show as he scored 3 of Gambia's 5 goals. Somalia, who lost their first game to Tunisia, were outclassed in key moments despite a spirited second half showing. The result takes Gambia to 3 points, keeping their hopes of qualification alive ahead of their final group match against Tunisia. Somalia, with 2 defeats in 2 games, will aim to salvage pride when they take on group favourites Senegal. And as we speak, Senegal is currently playing against Tunisia, and as of now it is goalless in that game, Abdullahi.
Well, Sankle, what can you say? Are we seeing some sort of offset in the current tournament, like different teams who you might assume are not good performing teams, but suddenly in this current tournament are doing very well, are performing excellently well?
From the before the tournament even started, there were upsets in the sense that the best countries in terms of youth football in Africa are Nigeria and Ghana, and they didn't qualify. That's where the upset really began.
Quite ironic.
That's where the upset really began. But then also in the tournament, we've seen the likes of Cameroon. They are performing really poorly. The likes of Egypt Egypt, I mean, they have all the infrastructure. Everything is in place for them. People will assume normally the young women, the youth category, will perform as well as their senior players, because don't forget, Egypt are the record AFCON winners. They have won the Africa Cup of Nations more than any other country. So many people are expecting that the young ones will replicate their senior players, but that has not been the case so far.
So which among these teams is about the favorite?
Well, that's a good question, because I was having an interview with one of the football analysts while working for my sports program. That's the question I asked. But as he stated, it is very, very difficult at this point in time to highlight who are the favorites, because there are quite a number of them who are favorites. One of them, of course, is defending champions. That is Senegal. They are one of the favorites because they have done very, very well in youth categories recently. And, of course, joining their 1-0 defeat against Gambia also shows that they are doing well. But one of the hot favorites so far since the tournament began is Burkina Faso.
Okay.
For them, it's 2 out of 2. They've beaten, Egypt, and they've also beaten Cameroon. And that is very, very, very good results, I must say. But Abdullahi, of course, in sport, there are some very interesting news coming up, because African countries have actually known their fate following the draw for the historic 16-team FIFA Soccer World Cup Seychelles 2025, which was conducted today, Friday. Host Seychelles, powerhouse Senegal, and debutants Mauritania will all compete in the tournament that will be staged in African continent for the first time from 4 to 11 May 2025. Seychelles are in Group A alongside Belarus, debutants Guatemala, and Japan. You have Mauritania, of course, being drawn in Group B alongside Iran, 2-time winners Portugal and Paraguay, and of course Senegal, our African champions, who are currently African champions, are in Group C with Spain, Chile, and 2 times finalist Tahiti.
Well, many thanks, Sankle Janko, for those details.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you.
And with that, we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening. And many thanks to Maojo Juve, Mamkodu Fai, and Umo Daniego for the technical support. Do interact with us via social media platforms: X, Instagram at WADR English, on Facebook, WADR English Service, and stream live on WADR.org. Coming up at the bottom of the hour is WADR's Security and Governance Program in the Sahel. I'm Abdullahi Hassan. Good evening.
And many thanks to you for listening.